Hi, welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant and mother of three. Nathan is my oldest at 26, and then I've got twins that are 23, be 24 in November. And I'm a lactation consultant for almost 20 years and a maternal child health expert working with moms and babies for like 20 years, like a long time. Like I can't believe it's been that long, but it has. It's wild. Wild, I tell you.
It's wild.
Yeah, but that's me.
I'm Abby, the badass breastfeeder, and I have two boys, Jack and Exley, 15 and 12. They both breastfed for a million years. Jack was 6.5 and Exley was 5, and tandem nursed them for years. And I have a social work background, and that's me. And today's episode is brought to you by Cake Maternity, who make the beautiful breastfeeding and pumping bras. And our episode is also brought to you by Original Sprout today with the vegan and cruelty-free shower and body products. And we'll hear more from them later. But you can head to Badass Breastfeeding Podcast badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com and check out our sponsor page. If you need anything, see if you can give any of them your business because they make this podcast possible. While you're there, scroll down, enter your email address, and we'll send episodes straight to your inbox every week. And we are on Patreon, and we would like to invite you to join us over there. This is home of the Revolution Parenting Podcast, where we talk about all things parenting. We have a focus on attachment parenting, gentle parenting to bring kinder and more compassionate adults into the world. We talk about child development, discipline, boundaries, and so much more. The only place to access this podcast is on Patreon. We have 2 tiers of what both of them you get the podcast. One of them you get an extra perk of a goodie bag of Thank You for Nursing in Public cards and podcast stickers sent to your home every month. So head to the top link in the show notes under this episode, wherever you're listening from. And we're still hosting our ongoing giveaway for people who leave reviews around the internet, like on iTunes or Spotify, wherever you're listening from. Leave a review, take a screenshot, send it along with your address to badassbreastfeedingpodcast@gmail.com. If you've already left a review or you can't leave a review, just share it on your socials. We're just trying to get the word out. Whatever you do, just send a screenshot and your address, and we'll send you one of those goodie bags. Also, if you have a breastfeeding photo that I could share on social media, send that along to the same address and with your shipping address, and we'll send you a goodie bag for that too. You can also, with your photo, share a little bit about yourself or not. Either way. And now Dianne has our review of the week.
Yeah, and it's kind of a concern. So I wanted to make sure we read it and talked about it. Hello, first time mom here. I have a 12-week-old. I keep thinking it's going to get better, and it's not. I am breastfeeding. I'm pumping for a bottle overnight with my husband to give. Long story short, it's getting harder for me to breastfeed him. He is extremely fussy at the boob. I'm expecting it's my flow. It comes squirting out. He takes like 2 gulps and he freaks out. And I can't get him back on. And it just sends him into like a whole tailspin, and I try not to force it, but I'm like, I want to feed my baby. And then I try a bottle and he refuses that because he's so upset. So it's just this tailspin that we go through at least 2 or 3 times a day. The morning he's great. But anyways, how do I help with that? I've tried reclining. I've tried pumping before feeding him. I've tried all the things and it's still squirting insanely. I don't know what to do.
Ugh,
poor
that's
mama.
So rough.
So I want you to get involved with a lactation consultant and get that supply under control because your supply is out of control. And that's what we need to do is to make sure that your supply gets leveled out. And at 3 months, it should be starting to get better. I mean, he's 12 weeks now. Your supply should be starting to slow down and starting to regulate more. So you're probably getting close to where you need to be. So I would say talk to a lactation consultant, see what else you can do to get your supply under control. I know you said you tried reclining. try just laying flat, laying down, and see if that helps.
Like sideline.
Yeah, like side lying, because that can help to slow the flow a lot too. You just have a lot of milk, and that can be really difficult to manage. And I'm so sorry you're going through all this, because it can be it's frustrating when you are just trying to feed your baby and it's not working. It's so hard.
Yeah. That's a crazy, awful feeling.
It really is. So let us know if there's anything we can do to help, but try laying down, just laying totally flat down, like in a sideline position, and get with a lactation consultant to get your supply under control. And just know that at 3 months, which you're at now, your supply does regulate again, and you should be able to kind of get it to calm down a little bit at this point. But yeah.
Well, thank you for that concern. We can share it with everybody who might be going through a similar thing as well.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to read it, because I'm sure there's others who are dealing with it too. Yeah.
Yeah. And before we get into our episode today, I just want to bring up that we are celebrating the 3rd week of Breastfeeding Awareness Month, which is Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Breastfeeding Week.
Cool.
Yeah. And obviously this week is here to focus on reducing the disparities in these communities, in every community that is highlighted during this week. There are vast disparities within these communities of breastfeeding support. And yeah, happy World Breastfeeding Month. Happy World Breastfeeding What is it? Month. Breastfeeding Awareness Month?
Yeah, I think so. Breastfeeding awareness.
Yeah, and today we have an awesome interview about milk donation. We talked a tiny bit about that last week. And so we hope you enjoy, and we hope that you're able to, if you have milk, to donate it.
Yeah, cool. There'll be a little bit more information about that for you.
Yeah, let's go. I'm here with Deb Youngblood, who is the CEO of Mother's Milk Bank Northeast. Is that right?
That is exactly right.
Welcome to the podcast. We're very excited that you joined us today.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Can you just start by telling us like a little bit about yourself and about the Mother's Milk Bank?
Sure, absolutely. So Mother's Milk Bank Northeast, we are actually celebrating our 20th anniversary now.
That's right. Congratulations.
Thank you. Very excited about that. 20 years of taking care of babies. I have actually been involved with the milk bank and leading it for not quite 5 years. But I learned about milk donation because I actually was a milk donor when I have 3 boys. And my middle son, as anyone who has more than one child knows, like all your kids are different, right? So, so my middle son was a absolute bottle refuser. He just would not accept the bottle. And I was working part-time and pumping. And so I ended up with this freezer full of breast milk that I couldn't use because he wouldn't accept anything in a bottle. And so I reached out to sort of figure out what would be the most beneficial thing I could do with this, and learned about milk donation. I've done a lot of other things in my career, but ended up learning about the milk bank here and thought, oh my gosh, what an amazing mission. I know all about this from personal experience. And so was thrilled when I had the opportunity to start leading this organization.
That's amazing. And yet again, you're the CEO of this milk bank. And it is yet again a story that started with your own personal experience.
Yes.
I have yet to meet anybody in the breastfeeding world working anything where it didn't start with a personal experience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know that taking care of children, feeding children, right? There's nothing more personal than that. And so I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And so milk donate. How you're at the mother's milk bank. You take donations from locals?
So the way that milk banking works is, so we are located in Massachusetts, but we serve the entire Northeast. So we serve 11 states at Mother's Milk Bank Northeast. We have about 100 plus hospitals that we provide donor milk for, and then thousands of families. And so people reach out to us. We can't reach out to them when they have more milk than their own baby needs. And we go through a process, really it's a conversation of figuring out, is milk donation right for you and right for us based on what we need to provide? Because our first and foremost reason for existence is to protect the health of very medically fragile babies. So those are babies who are being cared for in neonatal intensive care units and who cannot safely consume anything other than human milk. And if there isn't a maternal milk source available, and a lot of times when, especially at the beginning, if a baby's born very prematurely, there may not be a maternal milk source available. Doesn't mean there never will be, but there isn't one often at the very beginning. And so that's why NICUs have donor milk. It's to protect those babies because they can't safely consume anything else. And so we're going to work with moms who reach out to us and we can get donations from all over the place. They don't need to be in Massachusetts. I have milk donors sending in milk from all across the states.
So if somebody reached out to you and was like, I want to send my milk, you just like send them all the things they need to send it? My mind is going to logistics.
Yeah, of course. Yes. And there's definitely logistics when it comes to milk banking. So what typically happens is someone either calls us or they jump onto our website, and there's what's called a pre-screen. So we're going to look at a few basics to see whether or not you kind of meet the needs of milk donation. And by that, it's sort of like, how much milk do you have that you can spare? Kind of where are you in your breastfeeding journey, right? Like we want to be sure that all the milk that you give to the milk bank is milk that your own baby doesn't need. So that's part of it.
Okay.
And then once you establish some sort of basic criteria, like, yeah, it looks like this could be a good fit, then we're going to have a longer conversation with you. And we're really going to do a health screening. It's a lot like blood donation in that way, but we need to know some background information about what kind of medications do you take, any kind of infections that you may have had, or like disease exposures, right? We have to be so cautious about the milk that we're taking in, remembering that it's headed toward, in many cases, a really tiny, like 2-pound baby that's kind of fighting for their survival in the NICU. So we have to be really cautious. So we're going to do that health screening. And then you're going to go and get a blood test that we're going to pay for, just to be sure that you don't have any kind of infection that you don't know about. So once the results of that test is back and everything's a go, then we're going to send you everything that you need to send us your frozen milk supplies. Or if you live nearby, we love it when you come and, bring it yourselves and we can say hi and thank you, and, or drop it at what we have are these local depots. And so it's like a place, a volunteer place, like pediatric offices or midwifery practices, where they gather milk for us as well. But we're going to tell you exactly how to do that.
Is there a minimum?
Yeah, there is.
I would imagine.
Yeah, there is. It's a big process for us.
Sure.
So there's a 150 ounce minimum.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's what somebody with an oversupply is going to be.
That's right.
Dealing with
these
so
are moms
much.
that have a lot of milk. So a lot of times the moms that I chat with, right, they've got an overflowing freezer. Sometimes they have like 3 overflowing freezers. Their mom has donor milk, or their mom has their frozen breast milk in her freezer, right? Like it's like they have milk everywhere. And God love them, right? Like they want to be sure that was work to get that milk, to milk, to store it, to date it, to do all the things. And so they really want to be sure that it's being used in this highly beneficial, like valuable way.
Yeah. Yeah. I know there's people even with breast milk jewelry. Like we've worked with like, and you have to send them like 10 milliliters of milk or something.
Yeah.
Something so small, and parents are just like, what's going to happen to it? What if it's not real? What if like, even that just little bit amount makes people really nervous.
It's precious, right?
It is.
It's really precious. And breast milk is really precious. And when you do what I do, you recognize the level at which it's precious in a different way. Because I also talk to families who receive donor milk. And the experience of not being able to feed your own baby. And this is not like I prefer a human milk diet. And in some cases it is. But I'm talking about the families who are receiving it in the NICU where there really isn't another safe option for their baby other than donor milk. And they're so overwhelmed by all the experiences that they're having. And so the incredible gift that is not only nourishing their child, but also the emotional support that they experience is really profound.
Yeah, I can imagine. So this is interesting to me because mostly what we do on this podcast is deal with like misinformation about breastfeeding and breast milk. It's just, there's so much out there that that's what the whole podcast is. It's just like straightening that out,
Right.
And what we deal with a lot and what we hear a lot is just that how breast milk is just so interchangeable with like formula, or how it really doesn't matter, or it doesn't have what a baby needs after a certain point, or how, all these things about breast milk.
Right.
But then I hear about donor milk. I hear about premature babies and how they literally can't consume anything else.
Right.
And so how it just boggles my mind. Like, how we have this on one side, and then on the other side, it's like, it doesn't.
Right.
It's not that big of a deal. It's not that.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it's like literally saving people's lives.
Right. Well, I think there's a couple of things that are going on there, at least from my perspective, right? Where I sit and you talk to a whole group of women too. I think we don't like to talk about when things don't go as planned at birth, right? I think that's an uncomfortable topic for a lot of people. And so we shy away from it. And, and one of the reasons why I like to get out there talking about donor milk is the last thing I want is for the first time you've ever even heard of donor milk to be at the hospital.
When you need it. Yeah.
When you need it. Because if somebody's offering you donor milk, if somebody's suggesting that your baby get donor milk, it means something isn't going the way that you planned.
Yeah.
It might be a highly dramatic experience where your baby is really in difficult medical condition, and it might be that you really wanted to breastfeed and you're having a really hard time and you need some support, and that's very, very common, as you really well know.
Yeah.
But either way, you're stressed out. And so I would like donor milk to be something very familiar to you. Like, oh yeah, I know what that is. I know that if it's at the hospital, it's a really safe product. And so, I think that is really important. I also think that the reason why donor milk is standard of care in neonatal intensive care units is because when babies are born really early, when they're very small and very early, they have, as you would expect, immature digestive systems. And human milk is the only thing that they can safely consume. So it isn't that formula causes, so there's this thing that preemies get more often than full-term babies, much more often than full-term babies. That's called NEC, which is necrotizing enterocolitis. And, just like it sounds, it is, necrotizing is the process of tissue death, and enterocolitis is the inflammation of the small intestine. And so basically they're having a very serious gut infection, which can be life-altering, can be fatal. Formula doesn't cause NEC, but human milk protects against it. So, and it reduces the risk of getting this really, really sort of like overwhelmingly bad condition by like 60%, 70%. It's a huge, huge benefit. So that's why pretty much all NICUs across the US, not 100%, but like 90% have donor milk for those babies. And those are the babies who it changes the course of their health forever. And so it's just there's all sorts of ways to give gifts and to be kind and to be generous, but this is a really particular kind of gift for those families and for those babies. And that's why milk banks exist, that we exist because babies need us to exist. And that's what giving to a milk bank provides.
Now, just as an aside, because I'm thinking of it, can people, are people outside of the hospital ever given milk from a milk bank or okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So what we do at when you're a nonprofit, so we're a nonprofit, right? We're not here to make money. We're just here to provide, and we're accredited. We're nationally accredited, and so we triage our milk. So first and foremost, we're going to make sure that NICUs get everything that they need. And then the next group that we serve are traditional postpartum units. So your healthy, full-term babies, parents would like to breastfeed. They need some support. They could be offered donor milk as a little bridge while they're working on getting their own milk supply up. So we supply milk there. And then sometimes families are still, as you know, sometimes families who want to breastfeed, but their milk supply takes a little longer than typical, right? Like often it comes in the first few days, but sometimes it can take a couple weeks to get your milk supply like really going. And so donor milk can be a real support during that time and can improve the likelihood that you'll achieve your own breastfeeding goals. So this isn't sort of putting somebody else's breastfeeding goals on you, but if that's your goal, donor milk can be available in that way. And so some hospitals offer it so that you can take it home with you. And that's called donor milk to go. It's like a take-out service. And for those who can't procure it that way, when we have it available, and often we do, then you can cover our processing fees and get it directly from the milk bank, and we'll ship it to you.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, so when I think a lot of people, when they hear donor milk, they're like, oh, that's a little weird to have like somebody else's milk in my baby. But it's not like freshly pumped milk.
No,
right.
It's not freshly pumped milk. No, definitely not. So, and I think, I think we are, as a culture, a little squeamish, although I do think that it's important to remember that, this type of, the current version, not modern day milk banking, right? But like milk sharing is not a new thing.
Sure.
And I think it's also important to remember, like, when we need it, we get other people's blood.
Yeah. Other people's organs.
Yeah. So there's lots of different examples in science of this. But After we screen the milk donors themselves, using what I described earlier, where we're going to do like a health history, and there's going to be the blood work done, and we're going to check in with physicians, and this sort of rigorous process. Then once the milk comes to us, we're going to do a couple of different things. It's coming to us frozen. We are going to thaw it. We are going to analyze it. We're going to batch it. So when you get donor milk, you're not getting one other person's milk. You're usually getting 5 other people's milk that's been mixed together. And we're also going to pasteurize it. So we're going to do a kind of pasteurization process called Holder pasteurization. It's a shaking water bath, and you're basically working to ensure that there is no harmful bacteria in the milk while holding on to as much of the kind of optimal nutrients as possible. After we've pasteurized it, we're going to take a sample out of every batch, and we're going to send it to a third-party lab, and we're going to verify that pasteurization process was successful and we actually did kill all the bacteria. And it's only after that we're going to distribute it. So there's a whole process that takes place that's very standardized through our accreditation body. We're certified by the FDA. So that's very standardized and very rigorous to ensure that the milk that goes out the door from the milk bank is safe to consume.
Okay, yeah. Just like a lot of our foods on our on the shelf, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that milk banks across the country are really proud of is there has never been an evidence-based case of a baby ever having been harmed by donor milk that came from an accredited milk bank ever. So that you can't say that about very many foods. Frankly.
No, you can't. No, I know. We're having the conversation in the middle of the lettuce diarrhea. Yeah. It's like, oh, now vegetables.
Right. I know. The things we think are going to
eat your vegetables.
Not so much. It isn't to say, I mean, there's risks associated with everything. But the way that we are set up in accredited milk banking is really designed around, this kind of like utmost attention to safety, right? Like I have a neonatologist who's our medical director and a whole team of medical advisors. And, these are people who, as you would imagine, given that they work in NICUs, they're very conservative, right? Like their whole practice is around taking care of the most fragile babies.
Well, yeah. And that's what I was going to say. I mean, like, this is like a very particular, and all of the things that you have said that happen in order to make it safe, nothing's magical about it. It's like it's very straightforward. It's something that's not complicated. I mean, I'm sure it's complicated, but it's got steps. It's doable. You can do this. This is the baseline of what you're doing is creating this liquid for these babies, like you said, are so extremely preterm.
Yeah. And so, we set our standards so that our milk is safe for those very preterm babies. Mm-hmm. And that means that, also for a family who needs a week's worth of donor milk as what we call bridge milk while they're building their own milk supply, they can be assured that it's very safe for them as well. And I think that's, really important. We served 22,000 babies last year. So, there's a lot of need out there. And I always like to think about the ways in which it, part of what we do is care for babies, but part of what we do is care for families. Mm-hmm. I had this mom that I was talking to, her baby did need, care in the NICU. And she was talking about like when her baby was born quite early. And she said, I right off the bat, like from minute one, felt like a complete failure as a mom. Like I I didn't keep my baby inside me as long as he needed. So I didn't do that right. And then I couldn't take care of him once he was born because he needed all this specialized care that only doctors and nurses could do. And then they told me that he could only have human milk safely. And I didn't have a milk supply yet. So I couldn't even feed my baby. I couldn't do anything. And she said, and then the nurse said to her, we have donor milk from other moms, and you could use that for your baby. I think you should use that for your baby. And she said it was for the first time she felt like, oh my God, there's this group of moms that just like stood up behind me and said like, it's okay. Like, we are here for you and we're going to get you through this little bumpy patch. And then you're going to be off and running. Like, you don't have to do this alone. And I think the not having to do everything alone as a parent is a really important message. And to me, that's one of the beautiful things that we do as a milk bank is we help connect parents who have something that they can give with parents who need something that's really, really important. And we create this channel between them. And it's an incredible example of community care and community giving.
Yeah, I had a friend who used donor milk, and she was talking about how cool she thought it was that her baby was not preterm, but she was having other issues.
Yeah.
And so she was just like, it's so cool to think about like how many moms' milk like went into growing my baby.
Yeah.
You know, like there was just all these moms that like are in him that helped him grow. And yeah, it is very cool to think about it.
It's kind of a beautiful version. I remember somebody explaining to me that like all children need like a mother pie, right? It's not just like one person, right? But like, all these different sort of people in your life make up the slices of that pie. And that's like the best gift that you can give to a child is to have like more people in the pie. And, I sort of think about that with donor milk a little bit, that it's just like a very literal way, right, of creating this opportunity. And, we had a dad, it's kind of a tragic story, but we had a dad who, he lost his wife. And so we were providing donor milk for that baby who didn't have a mom. And he came in, not surprisingly, very, very emotional. But he literally felt like his baby was just being cared for by this invisible community of moms who said like, we're going to take care of this little one.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about the modern world that we live in, and we talk about it all the time, like how isolated families are now and how, we used to kind of live in a village, and, a more village type setting would be a baby literally feeding from multiple people, not through a donor bank, just from the breast, from multiple people or whoever was available at that time. And how we don't have that anymore. But like the idea of the donor milk coming from multiple people and other people is sort of symbolizes that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just talking to a milk donor the other day, and she told me that one of the things that inspired her to donate was that her grandmother was living in Greece during World War II, Greece was occupied at that time. And so she was nursing her own baby, but her sister-in-law was very sick. And so she couldn't actually nurse her baby. And of course, at that time, there were no other options. So her grandmother was just nursing both of them because that baby needed to eat. And so, this mom was saying like, yeah, it's just normal to me. Like, you do what needs to be done to take care of babies. Like that's kind of the gig, right? When it comes to babies, they're very dependent.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I think once you become a mom and once you become like you've breastfed your baby and you see other babies, it becomes so much less of a thing, much less of a stigma. Like, I mean, to this day, my kids are teenagers.
Yeah.
But if there's a baby crying in the restaurant, I'm like, put it on a boob. Give it to me. Give it.
Exactly.
Whatever. Just give me the baby. I don't have any milk in here, but it doesn't matter. It can just let me help this crying baby.
Yeah, well, that's what the moms that I talk to, that's what they say. And certainly, that was my experience too, was like, when you become a parent, sometimes even before, I've been taking care of babies long before I ever had my own. And, you just, it should be this sort of thing that brings us all together, right? Like, here we are, with this new little person. Like, what are the things that we can do to help them get off to the best start possible? And, I think it's one of the gifts of parenthood, right? If we can sort of think beyond just what can I do for what's just mine, quote unquote, but like, what can I do for all of them, right? They all deserve the best care. They all deserve the healthiest start.
Yes, absolutely. I was looking at you are in one of there were some facts in your email and it was that like a NICU baby, to feed a NICU baby, it's 2 ounces of milk a day.
Well, so the 1 ounce of milk can be up to 3 feedings for a very preemie baby. Mm-hmm. So very preemie babies are just getting little dropperfuls of milk, right? You can't overfeed them. Yeah. And so, that's one of the ways that we like to really highlight just how far your gift of milk can go.
Yeah.
I mean, I said we estimate that we served 22,000 babies, but we did like 2 million feedings, right? Like there's just so, because when you are feeding the smallest among us, it does go a long way.
Yeah, right. Because their stomachs are so small.
Yeah, because they're teeny. Yeah.
They're tiny. Yeah. All right, I'm going to take a break here for a second. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by Cake Maternity. Cake Maternity is a designer of comfortable, functional, and beautiful maternity and nursing bras. They are mothers themselves, and they understand that no 2 breastfeeding journeys are alike. So they've spent over 18 years developing their range of styles to support every journey. These bras include hands-free pumping bras, supportive nursing sports bras, lace plunge nursing bras, skin-to-skin birthing bras, comfy sleep bras, and all of the bras in between. They also understand changes that our bodies go through during pregnancy and breastfeeding, which is why they cater 28 to 44 band sizes and A through N cup sizes. And they are now shipping from the US. They are located in Australia. So regardless of your size, style, and whether you're breastfeeding, pumping, or both, Cake Maternity have done the hard work so you can focus on what's important, nourishing your baby. You can shop their entire range of maternity and nursing bras, clothing, and accessories online at cakematernity.com. That's cake like birthday cake, maternity.com. Use code BADASS15 for 15% off of your purchase. And today's episode is also brought to you by Original Sprout. Original Sprout is running a super fun promotion for the month of August, where when you spend $20 on anything on their website, any of their vegan, cruelty-free, phthalate, sulfate, paraben-free products for the whole family, they got shampoos, conditioners, hair styling products, lotions, body washes, everything. Just spend $20 and you get a free Badass Breastfeeding Podcast hooded towel. It's super cool. And you just use code BADASS26 at BADASS26 at checkout after you spend $20, and you will get one of these Badass Breastfeeding Podcast hooded towels. So head to the link in the show notes under this episode, or just head to Original Sprout, and you can see the picture of the hooded towels as well. And all of our sponsors and their promo codes can be found in the show notes under this episode, wherever we're listening from, and also at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, where you'll also find all of our other episodes, our favorite resources page, and information about scheduling your very own one-on-one online lactation consultation with Dianne. So can you tell us a little bit about bereaved mothers?
Yeah, absolutely. So our Bereaved Family Program is one of our, it's a really special program to us. And we talked earlier about how there are some minimum levels of milk that you need to have to donate, but that's not true for bereaved families. So, so when a family loses their baby, a lot of times, especially if they're losing their baby early on, their milk is still going to come in. And so in the hospital, they often will say, you have a decision to make. We can do some medication to stop the flow of your milk, or you could consider donating it. I've talked to a lot of families who've lost their baby. And obviously I'm talking to a very specific example because they chose to donate. So, but for those who did choose that, to a person, they have described it to me as the one silver light, the one little flicker of light during the darkest time. It was a way to honor their baby, remember their baby, have people that they were talking to at the milk bank who kept, saying their baby's name, this thing that people are often afraid to do.
Oh, yeah.
And it felt like a legacy. I had this mom, Maya, who I talked to. She lost her son, Teddy, when he was 17 days old. And, she told me, I created this milk with Teddy. It's Teddy's milk. It's really special, this milk. And after losing him, I just felt like I only wanted to do something that matters. Like I don't want to do what doesn't matter. And giving this gift of milk, like this matters. This matters for other families. And it was just a very powerful experience for her. And, Maya, I've kept in touch with Maya, and, she went on and she adopted a baby. The last time I heard, she was pregnant with another baby. So, she's continued to move through her family story. But what was really important to her was that she needed a way to remember Teddy. We have a memory tree at the milk bank. So every leaf is made up of a baby's name that milk was created in honor of. The families get their own leaf at home with their baby's name on it. They're welcomed. We welcome them in. They can put the leaf up themselves if they want to. They can come and sit with the tree. It's an important way to sort of give to another family in need something that, only you have, that commemorates this very difficult loss.
Yeah. And that is something that humans do in other ways as well. Like we were talking about with organ donation or, giving kind of in a way like this person's legacy lives on, and how therapeutic that can be for a family.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it really does feel like, it's certainly a gift that the mother is giving, but I think many of them talk about it as a gift that their baby is giving to.
Yeah.
The baby is giving to another baby, and that they want these other families to have a different outcome than they did. And they're sort of hoping for that for them. And so, it's quite powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And we talk a lot on the podcast about breastfeeding support.
Yeah.
But we can't talk about it enough.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on supporting breastfeeding with families and culturally?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we are at our core a public health organization. And while we have no interest in dictating how parents should feed their babies, we do know the science around what human milk can offer in terms of health outcomes for children, right? So we know that children who are breastfed have reduced risks of sudden infant death syndrome, of asthma, of diabetes, of leukemia, that they have improved neurodevelopmental outcomes. And we also know that moms who breastfeed reduce their risk of certain cancers, of type 2 diabetes, right? There are all these health benefits, and those are not really up for debate, right? Those are very, very clearly clinically proven. And so at the milk bank, what we're interested in is not trying to first of all, dictate that anyone decide that they must breastfeed their kid. And then second of all, we're never going to be able to replace full feeds, right? For a baby. There's not enough donor milk to feed your baby donor milk forever. Mm-hmm. So what donor milk is used for is for usually those early days when you're building up your own milk supply. If you use donor milk as a supplement instead of formula, it's been shown to increase the likelihood that you'll achieve your own breastfeeding goals. And some of that has to do with, that it's more similar in consistency and taste and that kind of thing for the baby than formula. But some of it has to do with the way that you perceive it. So what some of the qualitative studies show is that when you don't have the milk supply that your baby needs and you start supplementing with formula, a lot of moms decide to give up, and it just feels like, oh, this isn't working. I guess this just isn't working, and I'll just full feed with formula. But donor milk's not an option for full feed. So it's just going to be this little bridge, and that there's a finite amount of it, and that the purpose is just to get you to your own supply. And so it increases the likelihood. So there needs to be more research done on this, but the studies that I've read show that it increases the likelihood that moms will go on to persist and continue on their breastfeeding journey that they themselves had chosen, right? That they wanted.
Yeah, right.
So it's a way about helping them meet their own goals.
Right, which is all anybody is ever, at least in my world. The only thing that we're trying to do, we're not trying to,
Absolutely.
I don't know if some people think we're trying to lure people to the dark side or something. I don't know.
It's just like what the audience that's on the Badass Breastfeeding podcast probably has already decided that breastfeeding is bad.
Right. But, yeah. Yes. And if this is your goal, then these are the ways we can help. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's a different way than people, it's a less commonly known support. I mean, lactation consultants are increasingly familiar with it. I think the more parents kind of know, like, oh, maybe there's this other thing that could help me, right? Like, let's just help get, identify resources out there.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I'm sure that right now, everybody who's listening is like chomping at the bit to know how they can donate their milk. So I know the badasses, and I think I do. They're like, how can I help? What do I do?
Yeah.
And so you have somebody listening. Maybe they're in the Northeast. Maybe they're not.
Right. So if you're in the Northeast, then I recommend that you head to our website, which is milkbankne, like northeast.org. And you'll find all sorts of information on our website, but you can also head over to the Donate Milk page, and you can get some basic information about what it takes to donate milk. If you're not in the Northeast, you can go to the Human Milk Banking Association of North America's website, and that's going to list all of the milk banks across the country that are nonprofit, first of all, right? So they're just thinking about babies. They're not thinking about profits.
Wait, are there for-profit milk banks?
There are. There are.
And so they have milk and then they sell it?
So they buy milk.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, they buy milk. So, and the reason why nonprofits in our accreditation body, we have a no compensation requirement. Milk has to be freely given. And the reason why, again, goes back to our sort of public health basis, which is we must make sure that a biological baby gets their own mother's milk, as long as that milk is sort of safe for them. There's no like allergies or something else going on there, but that they're fed their mother's milk first, and that there's no possible incentive to give away a biological or to sell a biological baby's milk before they've had a chance to be nourished by it. So that's the reason why we're under the nonprofit accreditation. We do not compensate milk donors. It's not because we don't think it's work or because we don't respect women and what they have. It's because as a public health organization, we have to protect all babies.
Sure.
Yeah, and their health. So you can go to the Human Milk Banking Association of North America. That's where you find the list of all the nonprofit accredited milk banks across the country, so that if you're in California, you can find the California Milk Bank. You're in Texas, you can find one of the 2 Texas milk banks, because that's such a giant state. And on, right? So there are 27 milk banks in the U.S.
27.
Yeah. Some of them are little. A lot of them are little, and they're sort of based in a hospital, sort of serving that hospital system. And then there's about 7 or 8 of us that are larger, serving a whole wide swath of the population.
And all of these links are in the show notes under this episode, wherever you're listening from. You can just scroll down there and click to go to the Milk Bank Northeast if you're in the Northeast, and then the national one. You can find one that's closest to you, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I love for people to check, if you're looking for stories about, moms who've chosen to donate, families who've received. We have a really active blog, and that, not everybody can donate milk. It's a pretty small group that's in that position, but a lot of people can be inspired to kind of support families in other ways. We have people who run marathons for us and, who do other kinds of fundraisers and become very involved with us in that way, or volunteer in other ways. So love for people to come check us out, even if you're not one of the few who have more milk than your own baby needs.
All right. Well, I can't thank you enough for being here and sharing all of this information. I hope that everybody is going to go over to the website and either look into donating, because I know some of you do have milk in the freezer, because you've either learned that you were blown. We just got a message the other day of somebody who was pumping. She was just pumping tons of milk and, sending it to daycare, and the baby was just eating all this milk, so much milk that we were like, that's a lot of milk. The baby was definitely being overfed. And so she was able to kind of get back on track and everything, but she's probably got a freezer full of milk.
Yeah. Have her give me a call.
Yeah. And so you can head over to the website. And if you are not able to donate, like Deb said, you can join in and support the donor milk world in another way.
Thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure, and I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to talk to all your badass breastfeeders, and it's really been a great time. So thank you.
Thank you for giving your time to the Badass Breastfeeding podcast, and also to all of the babies out there that need the donor milk.
Yeah, well, that's my privilege.